wise. So we need to take a careful look at who we are and why these things happen. Remember back in the 40s, I believe it is, or when Marcus Garvey was on his pilgrimages, was journeying rather, to empower and to inform the communities, the black community, that they need to mobilize and put their resources in their own communities and to emancipate themselves from mental slavery. Yes, it has been put forth by Abraham Lincoln in the United States to end slavery, but slavery still exists amongst ourselves because we have become slaves to certain ideology, as Willie Lynch theory, when it comes to shadism and things like that, for us to discriminate against each other. But we are one. To refer back to the scripture, it says there, now we should not see ourselves as Jews, Greeks, Gentiles, males, females, or whatnot, but we are one with one purpose and in one destiny, trying to get ahead of what has been done to us in the past. So we need to become strategically and purposely strong in our mind, in our economics, in our academics, so that we will be able to rise above the injustice that are there before us. If we look in the Canadian Parliament, the federal government, there is not one Afro-Canadian, Afro-Caribbean, or Afro-American in Parliament. And this is a disgrace, I think, in the community. Some of us are boasting that we have been in the country of Canada since 1950, 1940, 1960, but yet we are not encouraging our generation, our children, to get in politics. We rather to be at the an assistant or a secretary to such individual who are serving in the community. But we need to be the head and not the tail. We need to be the one that who are drafting policies and making laws. In the courtroom, yeah, they appoint certain individual, but I think that's just a token to keep us appeased, to say that we are achieving. But we are not achieving until we have even a black person in the superior court that will reverse decision that has been inflicted on the community. So I encourage each and every one of us to take up arms, not necessarily weapons, but the arms that we need to take up is education, is the book, is the pen. And those are the weapons of the 22nd century that will make an impact in all societies, whether it's here, Toronto, in the United Kingdom, in Australia, in the Caribbean, in the United States. You see, there are so many that are criticizing President Obama for taking and making certain stands and putting certain laws into effect. But we don't see what he's also contributing to the black community. We noted that earlier on this year that he erected a statue of no other but than that lady there, Rosa Parks, who an ordinary citizen in Chicago, I believe it is, saying that I will not tolerate injustice. I paid my dollar or 50 cents, whatever the bus fare was at that time, to get and to sit anywhere on the bus, and she demonstrated, and she ended up in prison. Are you willing to go to prison for your cause? Do you have a reason? Do you have a cause why you are existing today? And this is what I'm saying. If you don't have a cause, I say take up the cause of allowing or the those that are in authority to stop racial profiling. You see, many moons ago, a police officer said to me that this was back in the 80s. His mandate and his responsibility is to criminalize as many black males as possible. I don't know if that came from headquarters at the time or it came from his divisional superintendent or what. But he stated that he's out to criminalize as many black men. And why they do this is so that we will not be able at a time, when you have a criminal record in this country or most European country, it is difficult or most to impossible to get um, careers or jobs where you can make a difference. So they look into the future when they are making policy. So it's for us who say that we worship God, the omnipotent God, the God that knows everything before it happens, and still yet we are not futuristics in our planning. We need to strategically put our thoughts on paper, our difficulties on papers, and say how are we going to solve this pandemic that is affecting our black males. Every week, every month, you may say that it is reported that a black man has been killed, murdered, or injured by the gun, or incarcerated for something that could have been prevented. So we need to stop racial profiling. Here we are profiling an individual who has been trying to empower the community through financial empowerment. And it takes just like it took another black man to sabotage Marcus Garvey through the FBI. So it is now we have this individual. It says there is another pastor who does prison ministry who reported this individual. If this individual truly does prison ministry, he should or she should know that the difficulty and the alarming number of black males in the correctional or the penal system, some justifiable needs to be there, and others are unjustifiable being detained and being incarcerated. So who is the victim? The victim is not those who lost their money in the investment, but the victim is again the black community. So we need to take an in perspective look of why we are criminalizing or murdering or killing ourselves both financially, physically, and mentally. We are killing ourselves. Not only those gangbangers are killing themselves, but those who are trying to achieve in the world are killing themselves because they are so much like Judas of the past. Judah, even after he realizing the harm that he has done against his own community through giving up Jesus Christ, he hung himself. He said he went back and he threw the 30 pieces of silver at the feet of the high priest at the time, who was basically saying that Jesus and his followers are blasphemers. So I think that we need to take a second look at what we are doing and what we are saying to the larger or the outside community about our own self. Self-respect is the best and the most way of getting ourselves out of this spirit of lethargy, a spirit that goes nowhere, a spirit that is like a crab mentality that will pull another person down because he or she is achieving. And it seems like we don't like overachievers in our community. I don't know why, but we do need to change that mentality to something different. Again, you take care and know that you are loved, but for you to receive that love, you too have to love yourself. Take care. God bless you. And I am Richard Mitchell.